You said something quite interesting there, and you've said it, I think, 3 times now about writing the questions down. Do
Oh, yes.
do you think that's the best thing in terms of acquiring, spoken like a true FBI agent, but acquiring the intelligence that you need in order to figure out what's motivating them?
I think it's a piece. Like I said, there's typically 5 things. You wanna set your outcome for when you walk into that meeting. Is it to get a second meeting? What exactly is your outcome? Setting your mindset, keeping your mindset open, tackling at it as an adventure. That listening position, putting yourself in that listening position, sitting off a little bit to the side, and actually even leaning in. Because when you lean in, you're tricking your brain to say, "Hey, listen up. This is really important." And that's a key piece too, because you have to tell your brain that this is important. We referred to it as the you paid how much for that. Again, you do it subconsciously, but when you give it conscious thought, what you're doing is your brain is saying, this is really interesting. They got a really good deal. How in the heck did he do this? Um, and you're clicking your brain in because you want to figure out how did you get that really good deal? Um, so put yourself in that listening position. And then again, going back to using questions sparingly, because when you ask questions, you change the subject and you also tell them where you see the benefit and the belief. And you may not be ready to disclose that yet. Listen to the questions that they ask because the clues are in the questions. When they start to ask questions, they do the same thing. They reveal their agenda and they tell you where they see the benefit and where their beliefs and motivators lie. It's a very strong tool. Try just write down the questions and you're going to know, okay, this is where this conversation's going and this is what's important to them. And like you said, it's training your brain to you're going to want to ask questions because we're curious. Um, but curiosity is the quickest way to lose clarity because you get off topic. Remember, we talked about the movies. So use questions sparingly. Um, and then listening. What are we listening for? Those facts, emotions, values, beliefs, and motivators. And those are key. And you may not get those all in the first conversation. And you can't listen for all 5 at the same time. So when you set that outcome, say, all right, listen, I just want to get the facts. I want to get the facts of what exactly is going on with this product that we're in charge of producing. What does it look like? How much time is it going to take? Get the facts and then get the emotions that are involved with it. Are people feeling overwhelmed, frustrated? Are they feeling as though this is an easy project and it's beneath them? What exactly are the emotions that are surrounding that particular product? And then once you start to uncover those emotions, you're going to get the values and the beliefs and the motivators. What makes this person tick? Why do they come to work every day? Why is this particular project so important to them? Or why is this particular project, they don't really care about it? And it's using those things to find out what motivates them. So that way you can influence. First, you want to get the clarity, you want to understand what they're telling you, and then you can start your persuasion and influence. And in doing all that, you're going to state your impression because you want them to trust and like you. You want them to listen to you when it comes time for that persuasion piece. So it's all about trust and likability. And how do we do that? We state our impression. Sounds to me like, seems to me, it looks to me, stating your impression. You're asking questions, you're suggesting something, or you're not asking questions. You're making a suggestion that doesn't offend the other person to build that trust and likability.
Yeah, honestly, I'm very with what you're saying. I read again, I'll put this in the show notes. I'm definitely going to butcher this stat. So whoever's listening, just read the show notes. It'll be in there. But I believe it's within an interview. If you're interviewing for whatever company you're interviewing for, I believe in the interview, the interviewee, the person that is interviewing, only speaks for 25 to 30% of the interview. And I was reading this and I was thinking, that's so bizarre because surely it should be the interviewer. Like if I was interviewing someone that was wanting to join my team, that would be listening to what they were saying in order to get an idea of what they actually want and what they've done and what they want to achieve. And I
Yes,
think, why do you think that is? Would you just say that people like to talk about themselves?
they do. They do.
Yeah.
Well, and so and you bring up an interesting point because goes back to moving the trash can. Curiosity is the quickest way to lose clarity. Once you start to ask questions, you get off topic, you get off the agenda. When you set your outcome, you're training yourself or you're making yourself follow through and achieve that outcome. So in the interviewer's perspective, he clearly or he or she is clearly getting off topic. You're not uncovering if this person is going to be a good fit for your business, for your company, for whatever you're interviewing them for. In we do the Listening Institute, we do an 8-hour course. And in that 8-hour course, we obviously we talk about those open-ended questions and how to uncover those values and beliefs. And one of the questions that we use as a training exercise is tell me about your best boss and why you liked working for them.
Mm.
So tell me about your best boss. So as the person who's doing the interviewing, am I going to know your best boss?
No.
No. What's going to be important to me? Why did you like working for them? Because why did you like working for them is going to uncover how you like to work. Do you work independently? Do you like to work in a team? Do you need a lot of oversight? That's where I'm going to figure out if you're a good fit for this business or for that company. But you're asking me that open question, tell me about your best boss. Oh, yeah, I worked for so and so and we worked on this project together. Why did you like working for them? Well, he kind of let me do my own thing. There wasn't a lot of oversight. We worked independently, but yet we could come together for meetings if we needed to check in. So it's all of those pieces that tell you what motivates them, where they find their beliefs, and where they see the value.
I'm gonna
Make
steal
sense?
that.
You should. It's a great because it is. It's a great question. And especially in your business, it could be, I don't know, tell me about the best diamond you've ever purchased, or tell me about the best piece of jewelry that you ever purchased. And why is it so important to you? It's why it's so important to you is that's where you're going to uncover those values, beliefs, motivators, characteristics of what makes that person tick.
Do you do this to your friends and to your
Yeah.
children?
But it is. It's an extremely powerful tool. But it takes conscious thought because we're all subconsciously good listeners, but to be an excellent listener, move the trash can. And you have to practice. Um, and the light bulb comes on and you're like, "Ooh, this conversation is taking a little bit of a different turn. I'm gonna sit back, I'm gonna listen a little bit and I'm gonna stop asking questions."
Okay. No, it makes sense. I thought that was a really interesting one there because within that question that you asked that whoever's interviewing, you can legitimately get everything you need to know, and I can't believe I've not thought of that question yet. It seems so simple now.
I mean, and I can't take credit for it. That's one of Richard's questions, but it's an extremely powerful question, and you can tailor it um, into multiple different facets. Again, you can go back to creating a product, and what is this? What do you want this product to look like in the end, and how much work do you think you have to put into it? You're going to find a lot about how that person works and operates and how you're going to achieve that end outcome of what this product actually looks like. Um, but, but again, it goes back to it's about them, not you. And it's following their agenda to find out what motivates them to be able to influence and persuade.
So what happens if the roles were reversed? I'm just thinking about like so say a member of my team or a member of your team comes up to you and says, I'd like a salary increase. What happens when the roles are reversed? What advice would you give someone that's, let's say, looking for a salary increase and pushing themselves to that next level in the career? What would be the kind of the social implications of that? Because I think that for a lot of people, it can be very scary asking their
Mhm.
boss for a promotion or for a pay rise. Especially if they're uh, if they're not a confident person, but maybe they are doing a very good job, but they're just not confident in themselves. So, what would be your kind of advice to have the confidence and to kind of ask in a non uh, corrosive way for, let's say, a pay rise or a promotion?
Right. So again, goes back to being patient and that trust and likability. and determining what that position, so if they want it's I I guess I would start with what's expected out of the position that you currently have. And starting the conversation, potentially with your boss saying, I really enjoy my position here at such and such a company. What are your expectations? How do you foresee this position growing, or how do you see what are your expectations of this particular position? Because again, you're going to uncover where they see the value and where they see the benefit. Um, and getting their value and their benefit and being able to articulate it in your proposal is going to resonate with them. So say, what would be a good example? Um, it sounds to me like you value hard work, and you value attention to detail. Um, do you am I me you know one am I meeting that expectation, and how can I do that better? And then sort of kind of weave in, it sounds like I'm meeting your expectations and somewhat exceeding your expectations, and phrasing it in a way that you're not offending the person. Would it be, would it be appropriate, or it seems to me that somebody who's meeting these expectations or exceeding expectations would also be considered for a pay raise. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it
Um,
does. It does.
but first it's determining where your boss or whomever you're having that conversation with sees the value and the benefit. Ooh, sorry. To be able to put that into your proposal, because it's what how they perceive that. Um, and then tying it into, you know, am I meeting your expectations? And if I'm exceeding those expectations, is it something that would be worthy of a pay raise?
If you guys enjoyed that clip, please do me a huge favor before you go and head over to our Into the Mind podcast official page where we have the raw, uncut Into the Mind podcast, and hit that subscribe button. And the more subscribers we get, the more incredible guests we can get on the show. I really appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you so much. And I'll see you all real soon.